Hello, everybody. I'm Julie, and I have Jo with me. Jo does hand analysis, and she's going to talk to us about that a little bit. How are you doing today, Jo?
Really well, thanks. Bit warm down our way, down here in Australia. We're in a 40-degree temperature today, 40
Oh,
degrees Celsius.
okay. We're a little
Mm.
dreary here in California, USA. It's a little gray sky, but that's okay. I'm curious about if a person came to you for a hand analysis reading,
hmm
what can they expect?
Okay, so hand analysis is a little bit different to palmistry. I call it palmistry on steroids. Just excuse me, sorry.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I call it palmistry on steroids. Hand analysis is the identification of your soul's purpose through the fingerprints.
Hmm.
And the fingerprints also identify what your gifts are, what you've actually come down here to do, and also they identify what your greatest challenge is just in the fingerprints. And from that, then we can look at the personality type in the hand line. So your head line, heart line, lifeline, plus any other lines that you have. And we look for gift markers as well in the hand that help support what your life's purpose is. So it's a really big, it's a like an I call it hand intelligence, because literally your life is in your hands. So you
How,
walk away with a lot of clarity.
how did you become interested in this?
Hand analysis, not until only 3 years ago, but originally I got interested in palmistry because I had a gentleman read my palm a number of years ago, 27 years ago actually, and he told me some really private stuff about my heart line. He informed me that I was really woeful in relationships. Sadly, he was on the money, and I was a bit disappointed with the fact that he could actually see that in my hand. And so I went out to find out, how do these people know so much about someone by just looking at lines on the hands? And so I've read many, many books, and I've looked at thousands of hands. And for 23 years, I just used to look at people's hands and do readings for them at parties or in hotels, or just whenever I came across it. I use it as a way of I'm not very good at surface dwelling conversations, and I really want to get to the nuts and bolts of people. And when you look at someone's hands, you're straight in front of you. You know exactly what you're dealing with someone.
How does that tie in with psychic work, mediumship work, intuition, that type of thing?
So what I've found now is that there's times when I'll say things to people like they've had a car accident, or that they've got to stay away from drugs, or things that have come up that I haven't read anywhere in any magazine or book or even hand analysis that identifies specific things like that and how to identify them in the hand. It's just something that's come through, and the years have told me that basically it's psychic ability. It's my aura reading their aura, so I'm able to actually come out or say things that maybe their parents might have said or their grandparents might have said, and that way I know that it's the psychic or the claircognizance or clairsentience is coming through. And the more I do it, the more it's developing.
Did it come naturally, or did something happen to make that occur?
I've been a real skeptic, Julie. That's hence why I've probably done palmistry. I've always believed in the spiritual, and I've always believed in that there's more to us than meets the eye. But I'm a real evidence-based person. My whole previous career talks about how I've been in the physical and not so much the spiritual. So I was one of those, you've got to give me the evidence before I believe kind of thing. But there were coincidences happening and things that I was saying to people that were just spot on, and I would walk away going, how did I know?
Mhm.
How did I know that piece of information, and how did I know to say that, and why did I see something that had popped into my head? And I've fought this for a long time until last year when I did that mediumship course with Lisa Williams and was lucky enough to meet yourself and the other ladies in the group. And I've had to acknowledge that that is something I have an inkling towards. I can't explain it, and I know it's real, but I just am so fascinated about what hand analysis can identify in people and their gifts and talents. That's my passion.
So, what is it about it that keeps you coming back for more? What?
It's okay. So for example, I've just found out recently some of the lines in my hands, some of the challenges that I have in my hands actually helps me to develop more authenticity with myself. So we all have things that we deny about ourselves, and we all have challenges in our lives. What hand analysis has helped me with is to identify those things that I may just like I shelve, or I go, oh, that's not really me, and hand analysis just goes smack. This is an issue that you have, or this is something that you do. For example, I have a persona line, which means I have the ability to say, apparently, the right thing at the right time. Always the right thing at the right time. The downside of that is this my authentic truth at the time when I'm saying it? I might say the right thing for that person to hear that will help them, but is that helping me? So there's a bit of a, there's a thing there that you have to look at and go, oh, okay, why am I always saying the right thing? And for someone who's in a relationship who is always putting themselves out for others, if you get that identified in your hand as, look what you've developed, this, I'm a nice person, I'm da-da-da-da, is that serving you or is that actually against you? So it's a bit of it's almost like a psychological profile.
Mm. Okay. I'm wondering, are you overall, I know everything can't be 100%, 100% of the time, but overall, do you feel joyfully satisfied with the work? Is that a theme with it then? Or is it just recently developed into this passion?
I've always been fascinated with palmistry, always been fascinated with it. More, I wanted it to be more accurate. I wanted the information that I'd see would be generalised. And the fact that hand analysis, and Richard Unger, who developed this, who's an American, his research, what he's done is just blows me away. The depth of the work, how much further it goes, is just, and I see how it impacts. I know how it impacted me when I did my first weekend of 3 days. And I've worked in law enforcement. I've been in real estate. I've managed childcare centres. I've done administration positions. I worked at mine sites. I could never get past 4 years and I'd be bored. And in one weekend, I found out that I'm here in the School of Service. So I'm here to serve as my life's purpose. And I'm here to make an impact in the healing arts. And the healing arts can encompass, it can be counselling, it can be teaching, it can be hand analysis, it can be, a clairvoyant, it can be a gifted healer, someone who works with others. And it was the first time in my life where I sat back and went, oh my God, I think that fits. That actually fits for me. I understand now why I couldn't last longer than 4 years. Like, you would think a criminal intelligence analyst would be really exciting. But I was like, trained monkey could do this after, a couple of years. So it's that when you find your niche, and the joy that I found in actually knowing where I fit and what my soul's actually come here to learn. So it means that the challenges in my school have been broken down so that I go, that's where I fall down every time. That's where I go into slavery because I'm in the School of Service, or I'm obligated, or I pick myself up when I go into fault mode. I'm more aware.
If we get together again, would you mind demonstrating this for other? I'm curious about what you're calling the school of service. Maybe we could talk about that more at a different.
Mm. Yeah, there's 4 schools that your fingerprints can fall under: the school of love, the school of service, the school of wisdom, and the school of peace. And some poor souls have taken more than one school on. But there's, yeah, I know, because one school's hard enough, I can tell you. But it's your soul's purpose of what you've come here to do as a soul, as to grow.
Okay, well, I won't ask you to go into it too much because I know that if it's possible, we'll talk another time if that works for you too.
Yeah.
But, do you? Okay, I'm just going to ask it. So
Okay.
here we go. So, is there a line on the hand that gives more information than any other line?
No. No. There's look, the heart line will identify what your love style is.
Mm-hmm.
Your headline will talk about how you think. So, you can have and your lifeline really talks about the energy that you bring into the life. You can never tell anyone from looking at your hand when they can die or when they're going to die. It's an impossibility. I've seen too many contradictions. Short a lifeline means you're going to die young. I've seen a 90-year-old with a really short lifeline, and then a 27-year-old pass away in front of me with a really strong lifeline. But the different lines that are in the hands, and you can have gift markers, stars on different points of the hand, will give insight into gifts that we've actually come here. And whatever your soul's purpose is, you'll find other gifts on the hands that are there to help you stay on track. I think the biggest thing that tells you the most about a person is really the fingerprints. And the fingerprints your whole life's purpose is actually placed onto your palms at the age of 5 3/4 months in the womb. It's when it's developed. And the lines on the hands can change and do change. The fingerprints never do.
Yeah, I remember contacting you and asking you what this new line on my hand meant, and you knew. Can natural disasters or death be seen in the?
No. You can see there's I've seen handprints where someone's passed away 12 months after the handprints were taken and from an illness, and haven't been able to identify anything in the hand that would trigger that, like would identify that. I have seen heart attacks. I've seen heart issues, but some hand analysts and some palmists don't look at the health implications, and each person has their own specific sort of style, what they look at. Mine's more about the emotional health of people, and helping them with that. The emotional being, the heart and the mind and stress and dealing with that sort of thing. But as for death, I have seen breaks in the heart, in the lifeline, where it's identified a near-death experience. You can identify those.
Let me pause just a second. I apologize for that interruption. You were saying, Jo?
So, yeah, the death, you can see near-death experiences. I've seen probably 4 of those where there's actually been a drowning, or they've had a car accident and died and been brought back. And the interesting thing about that is 2 of the cases had walk-ins where basically the soul left of that person and a new soul came in. It's really, really fascinating, really, really interesting. And that isn't taught in any book or any of the hand analysis. That's just something, that's when my psychic or claircognizances come in, and it's, yeah, those you can't explain. You know, you don't say to someone, oh, have you had a near-death experience, and were you a walk-in by any chance? And like, what am I saying? And it turned out it was spot on. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But death, honestly, cannot see it.
Okay. Huh. So if you would share your your best experience and your not so great experience.
So my not so great experience was a lady who sat down, and I identified her school, and she looked at me and went, no, that doesn't really fit. And so I needed to explain what the school was about and her gifts and her challenges. No, none of that resonated. And I could actually feel my energy just going down and down and down. And after about 7 or 8 minutes, I went, this isn't working. This isn't, because it's like when you're doing a psychic reading or a mediumship, if you're not getting that, yes, I agree, or no, I don't, or you're getting that confirmation, it shuts the energy down. So I actually said to her, look, I'm sorry, I'm obviously not connected or connecting to you. This isn't resonating for you, so I need to shut the reading down. And as I was walking her out of the office into the front door, she said, I don't feel too bad. No one's been able to read me in the last 20 years. And I sort of realised that this was probably something that she likes to do, is to just, that was her way of having power. Yeah, and that was a bit sad, but I felt with the information that I'd given her was pretty spot on. So whether she took that away and worked with it, I'm not sure, but that's the only one that I've had. The best one I've ever had, and this is a little bit out there, but I had a young girl whose mother was a Filipino, and she's quite dark-skinned, and I did a reading on her, and she said, I need you to read my daughter. And she brought her daughter over, and she's really pale, like really, really white. And I'm looking at mum and I'm looking at daughter, and I'm thinking, oh, there's a big difference here. And anyway, so the daughter sat down, and she was really a very quiet, like shy young girl, and we looked at her handprints and we looked at the school and everything, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, yeah, I think this young girl might be a starseed, and starseed's a, you know, highly evolved soul. And anyway, I asked her to hold some Tektite, and because starseed people relate to Tektite, and her eyes went straight into rapid eye movement. And anyway, when she held it for a few minutes, I said to her, oh, how do you feel? And she said, oh, I've got this white light around me. And she like opened her eyes, and she was this energetic like bubble of light. And I was like, oh, okay, this is good. And I said, oh, well, you're starseed. And what's that mean? And I said, oh, you have connections to the stars and, you know, alien connections. And she's like, that so makes sense. She said, I just don't fit into my family. Like, they make no sense to me whatsoever. And she has a composite whirl on her thumb, which is a in and out of family. So she will gravitate into the family and out again throughout her life. And anyway, her mum came over and she goes, guess what, Mum, I'm an alien. And Mum took one look at her and she said, thank goodness. She said, you've never fitted in. And she goes, I know. And she said, I get it now, Mum. And Mum says, when you were first conceived, I had a dream of a white elephant coming down and placing you into my belly. And she said, now this all makes sense. And and I'm getting goosebumps, for the first time ever, you could see Mum and daughter finally saw who each other was, and they accepted each other completely. And that was it was one of the greatest moments, to be able to see a love and a recognition and a respect for each other. And I said to Mum, look, she will come in and out of your life. She's a highly evolved soul, and you just need her to go. And when she comes back, she'll come back to connect. And she said, I have no problem with that whatsoever. And it was just the most beautiful reading that I've ever had, because you could just feel all of those years of struggle and battling one another and not understanding just went, So that's my best reading.
Feel that from this side of the screen.
I was totally blessed, hey, to experience that with them.
I think your people that come to you for readings are blessed, Jo.
Oh, thank you, Julie. I'm blessed to be able to do what I love. It's a godsend every day, absolutely every day.
So you will come back and we'll do demonstrations for other people and maybe talk about the schools that you mentioned.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Okay, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Julie. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, Jo.
I will. Namaste.
Namaste.